I'm sure it's true with you as it is with me that their memories come back when we're triggered by a song or a book or a picture or some image in our mind. This gospel brings me back to my days in the seminary, when we had a visiting priest for the year living with us in the seminary. His name is Willard Jabush, and actually, if you ever have you ever sung the song "The King of Glory"? He's the one who wrote the translations. It's in our hymnals. Look it up. 728, "The King of Glory," Willard Jabush. But he was our teacher for the semester for a class on scripture and liturgy. And one of the assignments he had us do was to read the gospel, proclaim the gospel with great energy and drama. And the text he chose was today. So when we were reading this gospel, at least maybe it was only me, I was assigned to this one. We were told to read it this way. When hearing of Jesus of Nazareth, Bartimaeus began to cry out and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." I mean, like, we were supposed to really get into it and raise our hands and look up as the beggar would be looking up towards Jesus. And then Jesus would say, "What do you want?" And we'd say, "I want to see." And I don't know why, I just thought it was so dramatic and over the top. And I said to myself, I'd never do that in a homily. And here I am. But I remember that. And I can't remember much about that class otherwise. But that's how it happens. I was telling someone the other day that I ran into some former students of mine once years ago, and about a dozen years or so after they graduated, and they said, "Oh yeah, we remember you." I said, "Well, what do you remember about my class?" Because I taught theology, I taught scripture, I taught Shakespeare and English, and I taught the classics, and I'm like, "What did you remember from my class?" "Remember that day you threw the eraser across the room?" That's what they remembered. I remember Willard Jabush making us act dramatic, and they remember the eraser. Sometimes the things we remember are not the things that were meant to be taught. It's like the game of telephone. You tell a message and you pass it down through people, and the story changes quite a bit. That's really what happened, I think, in this story of Bartimaeus. Jesus had been teaching about blessed are the poor, blessed are those who weep. He was telling them to feed the hungry and to care for those in need. And then after his preaching, they start walking along, and this beggar man, Bartimaeus, who's blind, calls out to Jesus, and the apostles who've been listening to every word Jesus said, "Stop bothering him. This is Jesus. Don't pester him. You're blind and poor. Leave him alone." They missed the message completely of what Jesus was actually preaching. I suspect we do it ourselves quite a bit. And maybe it takes election years to see it happen, but it's pretty easy to sort of vilify people who disagree with us, to see each other as them, or as some say, enemies, and not realize who we are. People living together in a certain country, at a certain time, in a certain place, trying our best to live in peace, to find prosperity for everyone. And instead, we miss the message completely and are easily tempted to vilify. Jesus tells us that he came for the poor, for the homeless, for the blind, for the lame. And he came to heal. And we find distinctions between blacks and white men and women, Jews and Muslims, Republicans and Democrats, rich and poor, gay and straight, homeless and well-housed, first world, third world. We make distinctions all the time. And we miss the message that Jesus came to teach us, that we're all brothers and sisters.